If you're struggling attracting and hiring fantastic employees, today I want to share with you how to write the sickest job post to attract high quality applicants that stay with you in the long term and can completely transform your business. Before I get into that, quick introduction. My name is Beruz Momeni, CEO and founder here at entrepreneurcorner.com. I also have a couple of other businesses, BMO and SortSmart, and today I have two special co-hosts, Ranza, who is Director of Consulting at BMO, and Veronica, who is soon to be Associate Manager of Consulting at BMO as well. Let's get right back into it. I always say your first, second, third, fourth, fifth priority as a business owner is to attract, hire, retain top quality people who are gonna be members of your team. Nothing is more important than the people that actually come and help you build the business. The individuals who are gonna support you for whether it's short term or long term. Those are the most important things in your business. It's not, I don't know, cash from investors. It's not investing in crypto or something dumb like that. It's not, getting some sort of weird evaluation for your company. And none of those things matter. It's not even sales and marketing. It doesn't matter. If you have the right person, they will do the sales and marketing for you. And yet, people are stupid enough to believe dumb gurus on the internet who keep insisting that you have to first learn sales, you have to first learn marketing, you have to first learn how to raise money from some stupid incubator. No. You need to learn how to bring people together to work with each other and convince them from the start. At the beginning, you want them to have money, right? You need to be able to convince them to come work with you and stay with you as you have money. Essentially, they see themselves advanced because your advancement is dependent on their advancement. It is that critical. This is why I created another company just dealing with selecting applicants. So it's something I'm really passionate about. And the majority of it, I give you all of this introduction, is because the whole game starts with that job post. Most people don't spend enough time on that job post. The job post is the first thing the applicant sees. It makes the absolute most sense to spend the most amount of time running that job post. Because if that's not right, it's done. You either don't get enough applicants or you get a lot of applicants that are not qualified. Essentially, it's just going to waste your time, because obviously the next thing you need in business is speed. Again, you need the right people to come in, so you have speed. If you keep dragging your feet with hiring, you're not going to have speed. In fact, I was just talking to Ranza today. We were doing our KPI planning for the next quarter, and we're like, oh, here we got a bottleneck again. We don't have enough team members. Well, it was not a secret. So let's get right into it. How do you write the sickest job post to get high quality applicants every single time? I'm gonna go through the list quickly and then I'll give you some more explanation for each section. Maybe actually we'll pause and go through them one by one. Guys, I have multiple elements that I think are important. Maybe I'll pause and ask you guys your take. Ranza has take from the applicant side and essentially almost an employer side. Veronica, mostly an applicant side. I also have both from an applicant and an employer side. First thing that is important in a job post is you have to understand what you're trying to do. The job post itself is a mechanism to attract and select. People think it's only attract. No. Selection starts from the job post. And we always say actions speak louder than words. We don't do anything like weird situational judgment test or personality test or like something dumb like that. Actions speak louder than words. It starts at the application process. What do I mean? So if you have a job that requires attention to detail, your job post can be designed to detect that. If your job post is trying to detect, maturity of thought, essentially like a lot of things you could just figure out right at that point. Now, I want to see if Veronica and Ronza have any other things to add just about the principal reason for having a job post. What is its main purpose? Do you guys have any other thoughts besides, what I thought was important?
I do have one additional, but it might carry into the other points, so you can stop me. But one issue I found a lot is who we delegate to create the job post. And I think when you don't have the hiring manager's input and final approval, you've already started off on the wrong footing because there's a disconnect. And I say this from the hiring point of view, and having also been a recruiter, there's probably nothing more inefficient that causes more delays than when it's not the hiring manager that's actually confirming the creation of the job post, and then also not reusing old job posts because things have changed clearly.
It could be even the same job.
It's
6
the
months
same
down
job,
the road, it's not the same job post anymore.
100%. And I've seen it happen so many times when I was a recruiter myself, where they're asking for all these bells and whistles. And then I got the unicorn. And then the person says they're overqualified. We actually don't need this. And then back to the drawing board. So it's wasting their time more than it was ours, really, at that point. But yeah, I think it's very pivotal at that point is to get the right footing. And the hiring manager needs to confirm all the details and update if you're reusing an older post.
This brings me to a concept a lot of business owners, especially new business owners and entrepreneurs, don't understand. Again, they watch some dumb guru on the internet say, delegate, delegate, you want to delegate? No. Not everything delegate. Who do you think you are? Steve Jobs interviewed the first 1,000 people. Like, you think you have a business with like 2 employees, you're going to delegate the hiring and not even read the job post? You have to understand, take everything that people say on the internet, including myself, within the confines of the context. And if it's only their context and they got a $100 million company and they tell you delegate, delegate, and you apply that to your $100,000 company, that's just dumb. So like Ranza said, I actually don't think the job post should be delegated any less than the hiring manager and the HR manager. Yes, you could be training other people to eventually be able to play as backup and eventually take over. But it's so important. Again, it's the first thing. Yes, the manager's job is to create an SOP for all that, but the manager still got to read to be like, is it there or not? So that was a good point. Veronica, any specific about like the main goal before I go into specifics of how to make the job post really good?
Yeah, I mean, even from my experience as somebody who is looking for jobs, the one thing that I'm looking for, of course, is to get to know the company culture so that I know what it is that I'm getting myself into. And I think that that's absolutely critical. And a lot of the times the job post can be so generic that, yes, you know exactly what you're going to do, but you have no idea what kind of environment you're going to be working in, right? So
it's just like you're like that's boring, man. I don't want to work here.
Yeah, something that gets you excited to be a part of that culture, or lets you know what, this is not for me, and in which case you save everybody's time, right? Your own as well as the hiring manager. So I feel like that's definitely something that that companies should look out for.
So this actually brings me nicely to my second point. First point was, remember, it's all about actions rather than words at every stage, and we're going to tell you examples of this. Second point is, a job post is meant to attract and repel at the same time. A lot of people just like continuously just want to attract. I want to get all the applicants in the world. No. You don't want all the applicants in the world. First of all, you don't have the manpower. Again, who the hell do you think you are? If Apple and Amazon put in both filters and they got all those things set up to be able to deal with volume, and you're like a tiny company, which is 99.9999% of the people who are watching this and companies in the world, including myself, you have to make sure that you attract and repel. You attract the people you want. You absolutely got to repel who you don't want. That's the second thing. How do you do that? to attract, I think that's pretty obvious. You gotta work backwards and remember the things you actually need. What do you want the person to do? So, we'll give maybe an example job post during this episode. We'll go through it maybe perhaps. But what is it that you want the person to do, which is essentially as part of roles and responsibilities, right? You gotta have the roles and responsibilities, and don't put like fluff nonsense in there. Attention to detail is not a role and responsibility. That could be a requirement, which is like, it's a given. I'm almost tempted to get rid of it everywhere I see myself. But roles and responsibility is like 3-4 things you want this person to do. Marketing manager. Oversee, again, actually depends what your definition is. Let's say it's an actual managerial position. Oversee junior members of the team and make sure they are able to design, implement, and optimize digital marketing ads. If this was a digital, for example, that's it. Like, it's one sentence. It's like, if you have like 1 million points, you already lost the person and you probably don't even know who you're hiring. So that's one way to attract the right people. How do you repel the wrong people? We actually, on our job post, we say, if this is you, do not apply. So you could have another section. I'm actually, guys, thinking maybe after this episode, we should turn this into a subsection, roles and responsibilities, and maybe right below it, like, if this is you, because we do have it somewhere in the description of the job summary, where you just put, if you're like not a, for example, let's go to the digital marketing manager. If you don't have experience managing anyone, do not apply. If you have never, let's say this was a digital marketing manager for TikTok ads. If you have never worked with TikTok ads, do not apply. If you don't like to work remotely, if it's a remote job, do not apply. If, you see what I mean? I be more specific. I don't say, hey, if you're not coachable, because who's going to say, oh, no, I'm not coachable? That's something you got to learn. Actions speak louder than words. Don't put dumb stuff in there. Stick to specifics. It also starts making it very different, because most job posts are like just willy-nilly and they're just templates. And that's a big mistake to make. Like I said, it's your team, and that's so important. Now, we went into some of the generals. Now I literally want to, guys, open up one of our job posts and go over section by section. So maybe I'm gonna switch to start showing our job post. And should we do something for consulting department even? I don't really mind. Let's see, do we have a good example to use? I think they all are pretty good. And of course, we're gonna do this. This is not scripted. We're just randomly, so we may even embarrass ourselves by showing like something that's got a mistake against what we're teaching. But hey, we learn ourselves. That's okay. Let's go to this position. I'm gonna have to, should I share my screen, guys, or do you think it's sufficient to just go through it? I just opened up sales manager. And here's where it starts. Good job post. First of all, so here's the tips. Finally, we're at the section where here's the tips for making the sickest job post to attract the right people. Number 1, it starts with a very brief overview. The overview should be a sentence or two explaining exactly what the job is about and what it's not about. Because if somebody doesn't have a job, right there and there, they're gonna bounce, or right there and then they're gonna decide to read some more. So have an overview. Don't go like too long or too short with everything there. Overview. Then right there and then you could also say, click to apply, and make sure this CTA, the call to action, link, button, whatever it is right at the overview, so that right at the beginning of the job post, people don't get lost. If they want to apply, they could apply. So that's right there. That's first thing. Second is where you give a little bit of a summary of attract versus repel. So I could maybe even share my screen here. So we have a section in our job post where you could see, guys, you can see my screen okay, correct? So we have a little section, are you the needle in a haystack? This one usually asks a lot of questions, and then it says, if you answered yes, here's a little bit about us. Then we go into what we accept. And this is intentionally long. Remember, at the beginning, we gave a title. Title is so important. So remember, people see these job posts on LinkedIn, etc., whatever they're seeing this. And the first thing they normally see, no matter what platform they're looking at, they see the title of the job. And that's not only just the title, should be only 1 or 2 words, but it's the first word of the title. So if it's a sales job, make sure it says sales in the first word. If it's marketing, make sure it says marketing. Don't say manager of sales. You could do that experiment if you want, but you're going to get at least less than half the number of applicants. So first attract with the right words, 1 or 2 words maximum. Then you got your overview and your call to action. Then you got your qualifier, disqualifier right here, what we do, what we don't do, a little bit about the culture. Then yours truly, this should be, guys, eventually replaced. This is an old video. Because why do I have this video? Not so that my ego gets big, because I actually talk about why we started BMO. And it also tells people a little bit about my personality, because at the end of the day, the company is an extension of my personality, and not a lot of people are going to like it. It's better for them to know now than later. What we offer, then you know, this is like, you tell, it shows a little bit of how much you care about employees in your own specific way. There's no right or wrong, obviously, but that's again showing the culture. People want to understand what's going on. Roles and responsibility. Roles and responsibilities. Remember, I said 3 or 4, and that's it. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. Like I've seen these like being like a couple of pages. Requirements. This is a managerial position. It's intentionally long and it's very detailed. You know, as a sales manager, you should have had experience this much as a manager, not just be thinking you're a manager. You actually helped manage a team. Your conversion rate for, you know, inside sales, phone call sales. I'm making it clear that it's about phone sales. It's not like a car dealership in person kind of a sales. Again, be very specific, descriptive. Traits of a successful applicant. Here we say, here's about just traits. It's like, you know, the people we like, we say, you know, for example, results per week, not hours per week, because that's just our culture. You know, this job is a managerial position. We say, hey, if you're looking for a short-term gig, don't apply for this. It doesn't make sense. It's a managerial position. Then we explain the hiring process, exactly the steps that everybody has to go through, so that expectations are managed. One more time, the call to action is clear right there and then. Now, let me pause here because I did all the talking. Let's see what our co-hosts have to mention as well, because some people will argue this is a very long job post, but for us, it's intentional. And remember, we have an overview. We have both a long and a short form of that. So the reason this is a long and it's got all these different sections is because for a position like that, manager of sales or sales manager, I want somebody who has read this whole thing and then some, and has gone above and beyond, seen the homepage, seen the products. If he has, I don't want to talk to them. This is not an entry position. Like, if you're really interested, remember we said actions speak louder than words. I gotta get convinced that you're gonna read that. And for those that do not read it, remember, I also have a repel mechanism here. Goodbye. You will not apply. Great. Good for you. Good for us. Perfect. Ronza, Veronica, anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think just to piggyback off of what you just mentioned, with regards to the job post being functional to, sorry, I have to take a break, guys.
That's okay. Veronica, anything you wanted to add? You're good? You're back?
Yes, I'm good.
You should have coughed right in the mic. We'll edit that.
So with regards to, just to piggyback off what you mentioned with regards to repelling people, I think that one thing that employers need to do is realize that there's so many purposes to using a job post. Like, it's multi-purposeful, like multi-purposeful, because you could use it with regards to a functional test. you could use it to, this is where if you put attention in there, or attention to detail could be definitely evaluated, because if you have lots of information and then they come to the interview asking the questions that you have on the job posting, all right, now you know that they either rushed and applied, they weren't fully invested when they reviewed the company, or they just have, poor attention to detail. There's so many ways that you could use it. And I think even with the job post, you could, Veronica mentioned culture, and that's very important to an applicant. And you could get creative with how you actually embed that, even with the language that you use. As you can see, we're very witty. We'll tell you what we don't like. We'll also give you more insight into the traits that we do like, because we've seen what what works with us, what works with our culture, what works with the team. So I think being creative and not just kind of sticking to like typical formal language. Like if your mission and you're trying to attract people, if your organization is something about creativity, you really have to embed that in that language in the job post, because it's more than just what you say, it's how you say it. In addition to what you mentioned here is with your organization, that's also key.
The one thing you just mentioned was, and you may have seen it when I was sharing my screen, is asking for specific things in the application, in the job description, on the application form. So when people click the call to action, there's an application form. Right there, we ask specific questions to see if the person paid attention to the details of the job post. Again, we repel, if you have not read it, a requirement, a minimum amount of respect to be at least even considered for the next stage at BMO, for example, is you have to show by actions that you have read the job post, and you cannot fake it, because there's a little something somewhere along in there that we ask you about it, and it's subtle. Some people get it, some people don't, and the people who don't, we can guarantee they're not paying attention to the detail. Because remember, it's literally open book quiz. The job post is still there. If the person is not even taking the time to go back to figure it out, you're not coming. You're not coming to, essentially our group. You're just not welcome here. That's, again, you should decide what's your standards, and at different stage of your company, you're gonna have different standards. Of course, if you have like no employees, your standards are lower. That's okay. I always joke around with Ronza would say, "Oh my God, if me and Ronza were applying now, the standards have changed." so again, everything we say, it's based on the context of where you're at, but these are the things that really work well. Veronica, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think again, from the applicant standpoint, so thinking about the two types of applicants, of course, there are more, but there are those mass appliers, right? That will literally just submit their resume anywhere without reading the post. So as you mentioned, Beirut, of course, we weed them out very quickly because it shows that they haven't read the post. But then there are, of course, the genuine candidates who are there and are interested in the job. So those are the individuals that, first of all, we're after, but second of all, they're the ones that are also after that detailed information, right? So beginning with exactly what the company's like, what the role entails, what we appreciate, what we don't appreciate. But then furthermore, what I really appreciate about the job post here is that it gives you an overview of the hiring process, right? Without going into too much detail, it at least gives you an outline of what it is that you can expect, whether it's 1 stage, 2 stage, 3 stage step process, right? It allows the candidate to also envision themselves and their trajectory, just even in the hiring process, right? And I think that also goes back to the credibility of the brand, which shows that, we're upfront with you. There's no hidden agenda here, right? Like this is what's going to be expected of you, both in the role as well as before you even get to the role. So now the question is really, do you want to pursue this? So I think that, again, from the applicant standpoints, the ones who are really serious are the ones who appreciate the extra details, and they can make an informed decision.
Absolutely. I do want to add, and it's one thing that you can only do selectively to certain job posts, and something we're looking into doing in certain job posts for anyone watching this, is if you can give or demonstrate, I mean, obviously most people are visual individuals. If you can sort of demonstrate, in addition to tell them what they might be doing, and maybe in a little video or some sort of sampling, I think that could also go a long way, because a lot of times, you'll have people that'll read something, but then they enter into a job placement, whether they had a different interpretation of it, or different expectations from previous experiences, and they don't align. So I think that's another way of ensuring that you're not wasting your time, you're not wasting the applicant's time, and you're better, attracting the people that not only want the position, but will likely also stay at the position because they have all that information up front, including a video of the CEO so they know the culture, including a sample of what they might actually be doing, again, depending on the post, depending on the position. And I think that would also be very effective in a job post.
I think even something we haven't done yet. I think it's in progress. Having a video, we have some pictures, a video of that demonstrates the culture. But you have to be careful about that, or having your team members explaining what they like, what they don't like. That again helps repel and attract the right people. You have to be very careful about one thing. It's again a common mistake I've seen some people make. Yes, you're gonna have fun events, etc., but don't make your job post look like that is the only thing you do. You're gonna attract the wrong type of applicants who are just there to drink, party, do nothing all day. So be very careful about that. You notice we didn't have that anywhere in here. We do have some pictures of us at different events in the main career page because it's a completely remote job. That's one of our things, essentially. Huge part of our culture is nobody needs to go to the office. That's stupid, right? So when we do gather, it's just these gatherings that we do like 4 times a year. We do highlight that in another person in the main career page, but it's not on the job post. I don't want the job post to get distracted. Hey, I want to set the tone and I don't want to sugarcoat it. Here's what we do. This is why it's so important to us. Emphasis, it's important to us. So if you come in, you better know what you're talking about and be willing to get better and actually do a really good job, because the people we serve matter and our reputation matters. So I've set that standard, and this is why in the job post, I'm not putting us like having fun. Yes, we have fun, but let's get into business first, then we'll talk about fun, right? This is like a brand new applicant. Don't attract the wrong people. It's way better to create a long post and have all these sections and get 2 applicants per week instead of 150 applicants a week, especially depending on the size you have. If you're going to get overwhelmed and then eventually you're going to lose interest and be like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to hire this person, because you cannot handle it. Right now we're at a stage of brand awareness for BMO where when we post a job, on average, we get, depending on what job it is, between 50 to 100 applicants per week. But we got the team set up that can actually handle that, and they have been able to build a system where they could weed out the people who don't qualify automatically. So it's a lot easier. Even with that, sometimes it gets overwhelming. So depending on what stage you're at, if you don't have the systems, again, emphasis, make this job post as detailed and as long as you can, because there's other ways people can apply. And if not enough applicants, then you could always come back and make it shorter. But don't start bombarding yourself with this unqualified applicants that are just not going to work out anyways. I think that was it for me. Any final thoughts, guys?
I was just going to emphasize one of the great points you just made, directly or indirectly, but I'll emphasize it nonetheless, is that the impact that a job post could have on your current team and their overload, their mental health, their stress, just their week, then setup, and the further delays. Like, you remember, if you're hiring, that means there's a need. Obviously, let's hope you're doing preventative hiring and redundancies, all that good stuff. But most cases, if you're hiring, there's a need. And the longer the delay, what does that mean? That means the work is piling on to the people that are doing it, which means likely they're not happy. They're 1 foot out the door. The HR crew is probably overwhelmed. They're not seeing success in applicants. So the job application, although might seem like it's, how is this impacting? And it's actually impacting several different departments and people. So it should definitely be strategic in how you approach it. Yeah.
Very good point. That was it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of entrepreneurcorner.com podcast. If you enjoyed it, share it with a friend, like, comment, all those fun stuff on whatever social media channel you're watching this, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.